A realtor and mortgage broker, like many of the viewers watching and the millions of Americans across the country, has been affected by the recent economic recession and foreclosure crisis. Having grown up with a mother in the business and continued the legacy of helping others, she offers a unique perspective on what we can do to protect our assets the next time there is a downturn in the economy. In her book called The Real Deal, which will be published in September of this year. Welcome, Autumn, to the show, and thank you for being with us to discuss really this topic that, of course, has not gone away, probably is not going to be going away anytime soon, and the effects that it has had economically across the country. But let me just preface my first question actually by commenting that. Or asking for your comment on the most recent report that came out yesterday as it relates to the impact that the housing crisis has caused on the wealth disparity among the different groups in our country. Specifically, the disparity between the white community, the African American community, and the Hispanic community, and specifically. According to the report, the Hispanic community wealth household numbers went down 66%. The African American community wealth numbers went down 53%. And to put in perspective, the Hispanic household wealth was now at about $6,600 or so. The African American wealth was about $5,800. And the white average household wealth was now $113,000. So this is something that's going to take a long time to correct.
Oh, it's going to take a long time. Long time is an understatement, Ramon. They've indicated that even though through the next presidency, after we have the 57th inaugural presidency coming up November 6th of 2012, it's been indicated by the Federal Reserve is concerned that even though when we put that president into office, normalcy of the economy will not happen until 4 to 5 years afterwards. And the country will not start making any money is concerned so far as back to making money and considering the American dream for another 4 years after. So they're indicating almost 12 years.
Wow.
And that's a long time. You know, when you're just talking about the disparity, this is the first time that it's come out to the point, even though it's been hidden subconsciously, about racial issues of the wealth and middle class and Hispanic and the ethnicity of people. And what I see is when it was the Great Depression, Ramon, if you remember, that...
No, I don't remember it, but...
But you remember more than I do, I'm sure. But what I was going to say to you is that if you remember, the middle class was completely eliminated.
Sure.
Now, what's amazing to me now is what the leaders of this country haven't seen, Ramon, and I want to see if you would agree with me, is that the middle class to upper middle class that have worked all their life in this country and have earned and gone to school and college and done a legacy for their family and leave for their children, that upper class is slowly slipping into the poor.
Oh, sure.
And no one will admit it, but it's the truth. And the wealthy, where we're having this tug of war, wants to stay wealthy. But as in the Wall Street Journal, it's not happening that way now because of the hedge funds and different things that are occurring in our country. So when we talk about white, black, Hispanics, African American, minorities in general is concerned, it's affecting everyone. It's such a major impact and whirlwind of our country that we just have no idea.
Yeah, and yes. As it relates to the issue of the foreclosures that have occurred and continue to occur, given the business that you're in and that you have been in for quite some time, it's my understanding that you feel that, of course, there was some bad advice, bad guidance that was given by banks, by mortgage brokers, of which, of course, you fall into that category, and you would want to divorce yourself from the bad guys, no doubt. But what happened? What happened?
Well, before I even started getting into that, I didn't have to divorce myself. I was already separated from it. I'm one of the better from the ones that are left. I'm actually one of the last women in the state of New Jersey that is a real estate broker and a mortgage broker in the state of New York City and New Jersey. So that's
Okay.
why I'm here today, is because of my reputation. What happened, Ramon, was greed. It all comes down to greed.
Sure.
And it was a big gamble. Okay, the loans that were products that we had, it was a big gamble. And because it got so far out of hand with the no documentation, 100% financing, everyone was making money. Just whirlwinds of millions and millions and millions of dollars. Yes, mortgage brokers as well as mortgage bankers who service the loans, okay, got greedy with these type of products because of the amount of money they were making. Needless to say, because of the regulations and because of the new laws that have been put out, they're trying to protect the consumer to be knowledgeable and to allow this not to happen again. It was so out of control, but I have to be honest with you, it wasn't regulated as it should have been. The products were rolled out. The underwriting was very, very scarce. They didn't have tight...
Robot underwriting.
There you go. You got it.
Yeah, robot underwriting.
Absolutely.
Let me
Absolutely.
ask you this question,
Yes.
Autumn. As it relates to the changes that have taken place, following in the wake of course, this disaster that has occurred in the housing economy, housing sector across the country.
Yes.
Do you believe that it's going to make the opportunity to achieve that, quote, traditional American dream, i.e. home ownership, for those who have longed for it for so long, that much more difficult? And the reason I ask that much more difficult is because clearly there are not going to be zero down payment loans granted anymore, not even maybe 5, 10, 15%. Banks and lenders are going to be looking for 20, 25, maybe as much as 33% down for those who want to buy a home in order to somehow avoid a reoccurrence of this. How is that going to hurt specifically the Hispanic, the African American communities and other minority communities that are longing for that American dream?
Okay, Ramon, there's two parts to the question that you asked me. The first part is, yes, when you think about the millions and millions and millions of foreclosures around the country that has occurred, yes, it does give that person who did not have the opportunity to purchase a home. Needless to say, because the banks, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, they didn't have rent receivers. Rent receivers mean the people that go out to take care of the homes, put people in there to rent, to maintain them while they're foreclosed on. Because they went so quickly with this type of products, there's so many houses, they never took care of the properties. Now what's been happening, as it was in Bloomberg, Ramon, that there's mold in the properties, and people now don't want to buy them. But to get back to your question, yes, it does give the first-time home buyer, but the problem is the underwriting guidelines. It's you do one thing and then you do the other. I mean, the leniency there, it's the banking department, so far as the underwriting guidelines, they're not user-friendly anymore. They're so tight. You may want to get a home, but they're so tight so far as the credentials, so far as who purchases the home, and so whether or not they're credit worthy enough to even have that home. That's what it comes down to.
But that credit worthiness goes up a little bit with the demand of a greater down payment.
Yes, it does. It goes down with a greater down payment, but because of the credit issue and the lower FICO scores, you may have the down payment, but the issue is more than likely today that may be a gift, and those monies have to be sourced almost up to 90 days. So still, if you just got the money and you can't source it, you can't utilize it as a down payment.
No, I agree. Let me ask you this, notwithstanding the bleakness of what has occurred in the housing economy in this country, really, is there some reason for hope?
Yes, that's why I'm here, and I'm going to share this with you. I went through a financial struggle in the sense of being in this industry. I've been a mortgage broker for 14 years, but I've been in the industry for 18. My family has been in real estate for over 50 years, so I'm a legacy carrying from my family. I wanted to make sure, even though I overcame the struggles of dealing with the banks and watching my clients come into my office crying, Ramon, every day. And these are people that paid their mortgage on time and they accidentally foreclosed on their home. Can you explain that to me?
No.
No. I can't.
It's difficult without a doubt. But,
yes,
you know,
but so far as hope is concerned, yes, there's hope for the American people. I am here to let them know not to give up.
Not to give up. Well, they can't.
No. We have to go back to the practicality of living and going back to the simple things of life.
And speaking of going back, I have to go back to a break, but before we leave,
Yes.
I want to thank you for being with us, and I want to remind our
Yes.
viewers
Yes.
to look for your book, The Real Deal, that will be published and coming out in September of this year. I wish you continued success, Autumn, and
Thank
again,
you.
thank you so much for being with us,
Thank
and
you.
keep carrying on.
I will, Ramon. Thank you
Okay.
for having me.
You bet.